Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm Erin, I'm Queen Bee Tarot, and we've got a planetary party happening in Pisces, which means that it might be especially hard for us to either see the truth or be truthful with ourselves and other people. I'll tell you why. This is our weekly astrology update, and I'm going to give a general overview for the astrology for the collective to start, and then we'll jump right into individual horoscopes for all 12 signs. My horoscopes are written for rising signs. If you don't know your rising sign, just watch the one for your sun sign. And if you know both, definitely watch both. You'll get extra insight that way. I do make these every Sunday, so make sure to like and subscribe so that you're up to date with all my videos. So, the astrological party happening in Pisces right now is actually really cool. This week we have what's called a cazimi. And the word cazimi is used in astrology, but it actually comes from an Arabic word which means in the heart of the sun. And what a cazimi is when the sun is in almost the exact same spot as any other planet. And what it does is it creates what astrologers call as combustion, which is something kind of burning up. Depending on the energy of the planet, it can either be boosted or it can be kind of swallowed, depending on how strong the planet is independently. So the cazimi happening on Wednesday this week is going to involve the sun, of course, and Mercury and Saturn. Mercury is how we think. It's how we communicate. It's how we see ourselves. It's how we see the world. It can be our own personal lens of perception, so to say. And Saturn represents what we take seriously, but Saturn's influence is also like super cut and dry, the ultimate reality check that you didn't necessarily want to hear. And that's actually a good thing, because Pisces, the sign in which this planetary party is happening, Pisces is associated with the 12th house of hidden things and mystery, and the planet Neptune, which is dreamy, idealistic, but can also wear rose-colored glasses. So the influence of Pisces in general is to be kind of like, it's all good, it's fine, and because Pisces energy, Neptune's energy, wants to make everybody happy, Pisces, symbolized by the two fish swimming in opposite directions, Pisces is infamous for avoiding confrontation. So whenever we have strong Pisces influence, either in the astrology of the time or in our own personal astrology, that can lend to glossing over the facts, seeing the best, or maybe just kind of avoiding confronting or acknowledging anything negative. Now, leading into that, today is Sunday. Just yesterday on Saturday, we had a full moon in Virgo. Now, Virgo is like, I see this and this and this and this, and that's not okay. So Virgo's influence is also a bit serious and really, really good for a reality check. But what the full moon on Virgo might have brought you is a sense of discomfort, because Virgo notices everything. All the details, when something's out of place, when somebody's not behaving honorably, all of it is experienced during Virgo time as a sense of discomfort or friction. Like we can't unsee what we're seeing. So you might have experienced a bit of a reality check this weekend, as maybe you noticed cracks and flaws either in yourself, the people around you, maybe the life that you live. So when these things are brought to our attention, but we also have all this Pisces energy, we're kind of faced with a little bit of fork in the road. Either we go, okay, I do want to see the best in everything, but we have to acknowledge some of these issues, or so that would be like the Virgo Saturn way. Or if we lean into the Pisces energy, we might just go, la la la, everything's fine, whatever. But here's what's really important is if, for example, we're dealing with conflict in a relationship, this Piscean energy, influenced by the Virgo and the planet Saturn energy, can kind of bring us to this decision-making time where it's like, okay, I noticed this issue. My autopilot or my tendency might to be, it's fine, this person didn't mean what they said. Well, what if they do? If we gloss over some things too much, it becomes unhealthy. We can't have toxic positivity and just say, oh, it's all good all the time, right? So this is the energy of the astrology this week, is being faced with potentially some uncomfortable truths, and then the choice of either do I acknowledge this and work with this new information, or do I ignore it and go around the circle one more time until it shows itself again? Some things we do need to just shake off, obviously, and so it is going to be a lot of decisions around, is this something that really needs to be worked on, or is this something minor that I can let go of? If we have any kind of maybe trauma responses or tendencies to gloss over the truth, just depending on where we're coming from, we might have a tendency to go, oh, it's no big deal, when it actually is. So learning to recognize when things really are a big deal, obviously, is always going to be a personal journey, but those topics and themes are exactly what's going to come up this week. So over the weekend, the moon is going to be spending also Sunday in Virgo. Again, just kind of helping us notice anything that really might need our attention. And that's the thing, Virgo wants to help and heal and fix. It's not just about going, this is wrong and this is out of place. The other side of that, because noticing is only a part of it, the other side of that is that Virgo wants to step in. Virgo wants to make sure that everybody's got what they need. Virgo wants to help or heal or, reorganize your kitchen, whatever. So it's not just, and that's where we sometimes get stuck, is just noticing something that we're not happy with and then getting stuck where we just can't look past it. So in order to make the most of this energy, especially over this weekend, we really need to be willing to take whatever steps are necessary to potentially change our choices or our energy or our responses, or maybe kind of speak our truth and see what we can do to catalyze change within relationships or our career or our home life, whatever the case may be. Monday, the moon moves into Libra. So as much as these flaws or issues might be brought to our attention, when the moon moves into Libra on Monday, there's a sense of, okay, well, I really want things to work out. I don't necessarily want to toss this friendship or this relationship. Do I focus on these issues, or do I just make peace? So Monday is definitely going to be a day where any of our potentially unhealthy coping mechanisms that include glossing over the truth or saying it's not a big deal when it is, Monday, those things are going to be kicked into high gear. So a big switch from the weekend where it's like, this is a big deal, to Monday, maybe it's not such a big deal. Somewhere in between, you're going to find your truth. But on Monday, please remember, don't ignore red flags. Okay? If your spirit animal is the bull, and every time you see a red flag, you run towards it, this is going to be a week of definitely having to pay attention to your own habitual responses. Tuesday, Mars is going to form a square to Jupiter, which means Tuesday is going to be a really high energy day. We might be super motivated to be creative or work at our jobs or clean our house or whatever it is, but the energy on Tuesday is going to be really hopeful, and it's going to be really forward thinking. It's going to be a sense of, okay, well, yeah, this is the reality right now, but I can see how things could be. And again, we're faced with a choice, because if we're seeing the best in people, but those people don't actualize their potential, then we're always waiting for this someday when they're mature or when they're willing to, do their fair share or whatever the case may be. So it's great to be forward thinking, but again, this week, please don't gloss over details and please don't ignore red flags. Wednesday is the Cazimi, Sun, Mercury, Saturn Cazimi. There's a sense that all that we may potentially gloss over, including about ourselves, is all Wednesday is going to be a day of downloads. Wednesday is going to be a day of maybe seeing the truth in situations that maybe we didn't want to see. These could be potentially uncomfortable realizations, but definitely, Wednesday is a fantastic day for focused concentration, for meditation, and for visualizing what it is that we want to create or what it is that we want to actualize, with a healthy dose of an awareness of the reality right here, right now. Wednesday, the moon is going to be void, of course, the entire day. So Wednesday is a great day to think, to reflect, to imagine, to plan, but don't make any major decisions. Don't sign any major contracts or make any major purchases, just because Wednesday is kind of like a no time, no grounding, swimming in the ether kind of day. So again, great for realizations, but don't make any commitments per se on Wednesday. On Thursday, the moon will have just moved into Scorpio overnight, and Mercury is going to form a sextile with Jupiter, which is, again, an influence of positive, optimistic, expansive thinking about the future. Again, a tendency to gloss over details, but it's great for making plans, seeing the bigger picture, kind of getting a sense of, like, even if we're faced with uncomfortable truths this week, by the middle towards the end of the week, there's going to be a sense of, I can make peace with reality as it is, and I can use this as useful information to make steps to move forwards. So it's not going to be completely life shattering, because for all the truth and hard truth we get shown this week, there's also going to be a path of, okay, well, now at least I know what to do. You know, sometimes we end up stuck in a loop because we keep going, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. But then we have a sense of there's a problem that we don't know how to fix. Once we acknowledge reality for what it is, we have a jumping off point where we can finally start to get out of any ruts that we're stuck in. So it's important to allow yourself to be really clear about how everything connects. How did everything lead you to the point that you're at right now? How did all of the lessons or experiences or challenges that you've gone through, how did that all lead to potentially this moment where everything clicks and falls into place? It's like all roads lead to this. And then you have a choice of, do you want to get back on the merry-go-round, or do you want to get off and move on to something else? That's the energy of this week. Friday, March 1st, Sun sextile Jupiter. So the Mercury and Sun, after they form that conjunction with Saturn, a couple days later, they both form a helpful angle to Jupiter. So that's what I'm talking about. As much as we get this gnarly dose of reality, there's also a path to, okay, here's what's next. So don't be afraid to face the truth. The truth will set you free, but it might piss you off first, is a really helpful thing to remember. And then by Saturday, by the time we get to the weekend, the moon moves into Sagittarius. It's going to be like, okay, it's fine. I can deal with this. I can do this. I can get through this. A really lovely way of kind of balancing out the ups and downs of the week. And by Saturday, moon moving into Sagittarius is like really positive, really hopeful, and more of a tendency to just kind of shake it off and be like, okay, let's go, right? So definitely an interesting week ahead for sure. I have horoscopes ready for all 12 signs. We're going to be looking at how the Cazimi is going to affect you, how the Sun and Mercury sextile Jupiter a few days later is going to affect you, and then with Mars square Jupiter, what sort of action can you take that's going to help you make the most of any realizations that you have this week. Okay, so starting with Aries, Aries Sun and Rising. The Cazimi happening this week is going to be an experience of like a download in your 12th house, which could be your intuition. It could be some sort of a dream that brings you a vision or a realization, or sometimes we have dreams where we discover a solution to a problem that we have in our waking life. There's some sort of massive download that's going to happen for you in the middle of the week, and it's going to lead to a breakthrough that helps you feel aligned with your values. Now, the sticky point here is a question of whether or not the people around you are going to help you reach your goals, or whether or not you share the same values with the people around you. Sometimes there's been this experience that you're either hidden or misunderstood, or a sense that you just maybe are questioning whether or not you're in the right place. And the realization this week is going to help you understand potentially any hidden ways in which you are your own worst enemy, any hidden ways in which you might be the the source of your own undoing. So sometimes the situation is not necessarily all bad, but our sense of discomfort and feeling unsatisfied leads to a sense of internal strife. And then what we don't realize is that our external energy is actually perpetuating conflict. It's actually perpetuating a sense of isolation or friction. So a realization of how kind of the bigger picture exists for you, how you can potentially put your money where your mouth is and really align yourself with your values, to be really, really mindful of the energy that you bring to a situation, and whether or not your expectations of your community or your network as a whole, whether or not those expectations are realistic, and whether or not you're holding yourself to those same expectations. So a new way of looking at who you're surrounded by, a new way of looking at your place in that connective network, and an opportunity to realign how you bring yourself to the table in a way that's going to get you closer to your ideals. So part of it is making peace, part of it is changing your approach, and part of it is being easier on the people around you, or maybe just kind of giving a situation grace and allowing yourself to just kind of make peace with how things are. And that in itself is going to lead you to a sense of timing or next steps or long-term growth. So pay attention to your dreams this week, Aries, Sun and Rising. If you have any, even if they seem really weird, if you wake up in the morning with like a crystal clear memory of what you dreamed, write it down. It might actually provide some really useful information, even if it seems super wacky. So write down your dreams this week, and good luck. Spend some time reflecting and think before you speak. Taurus, Sun and Rising. This week's cazimi involving Saturn and Mercury and the Sun is going to happen in your 11th house. So there's going to be a realization of your evolving role within your community. And it's going to be kind of hand in hand with a breakthrough of how your evolving role is a reflection of your evolving self. And ways in which you might have interacted with your community or presented yourself or introduced yourself, all of that is changing. So there's going to be a sense of like, whoa, I'm a different person, or what I have to offer is completely different. There's going to be a sense of being more at peace with who you are and less worried about what other people think, and more focused on how you can really actualize your ideals and bring yourself to the table in a way that is more authentic than it's been in a long time. And there's an opportunity for you to take action as well towards the end of the week. You're going to have an opportunity to either make a commitment or lock into some sort of long-term goal. So maybe that's signing a contract, maybe that's renewing a contract, maybe that's stepping into like wearing a new hat in your career. But there's going to be a sense of you kind of finding your fit, locking in, and feeling really, really good about whatever situation it is that you either adapted or birthed. Maybe it's new, or maybe it's something that was already there, but there's a new aspect to it. So it's really cool. This week is going to be actually some solid realizations of your own maturity, your own wisdom, and your own growth, feeling really at peace with how circumstances from the past led you to where you're at right now, and going, okay, I actually see how this can be useful. I actually see how I can integrate maybe this personal lesson in a professional aspect. So really awesome, feeling at peace with who you are, and maybe even thinking about goals to be your own boss or to have more autonomy within your career path. Gemini, Sun and Rising. This week's cazimi involving Saturn, the Sun, and Mercury is going to be in your 10th house. And it's going to be a realization of not only your wisdom, but how far you've come, and a sense of feeling really, really proud of how much you've grown or how much you've accomplished. So either personally or professionally. And there's a breakthrough that you're now at peace in your headspace in a new way. Maybe you're sleeping better. Maybe you're feeling more inspired to be creative. Maybe you're just feeling more in tune with your higher self, or Yeah, there's a sense that you're just really, really proud of yourself. And there's an opportunity for action in the sense that either you can teach other people based on what you learned, or maybe you're going to be like, awesome, I feel really good. I got through all these hard lessons or hard experiences. What's next? You might even be thinking about planning to travel, planning to do fun, adventurous things. It feels like preceding this, there was a sense of either slugging through some really hard psychological work or slugging through some really mundane everyday work. And what's opening up for you is all of a sudden feeling hopeful, feeling positive, thinking about the future and going, ooh, what fun. And that in itself feels different because in the past there was a sense of either confusion or doubt or even dread. So this is really positive. Definitely growing in the realm of travel. Maybe you're going to be inspired to study a new subject or learn a new language, and also expanding your own self-awareness, building from maybe some trauma work or shadow work that you were doing and now thinking, okay, how can I expand who I am in a really positive way and maybe start to integrate some healthy coping mechanisms so that, you know, in the future, if you have another dip with depression or frustration, you're going to be like, that's okay, I got this. Maybe writing notes to yourself that you're going to read in a year or two. So a sense of hope and positivity and renewal for you guys. Cancer, sun and rising. The Cazimi happening this week is going to be in your 9th house, opening up an opportunity for possibilities. And where something might have felt like a dream or a rumor, there's going to be a sense of, oh my God, it's real. So either a real piece of information or a real opportunity to learn something or integrate something. And it's all going to lead to a breakthrough in a sense that you're either supported or included or understood. So maybe somebody's going to come out of the woodwork and rally for you. Or maybe there's going to be a sense that some sort of expert in their field is going to be able to offer you a path or a solution or even just a word of wisdom. And the Mars square Jupiter opportunity to grow and maybe even take action, I'm being made to feel as though there's this like something I heard a really long time ago is that even in your darkest moments, you're going to either hear or see one thing that helps you keep going, that helps you get through that day. And so maybe for a while you've been going through something where it's like, okay, I just got to get through today, or I just got to get through this hour. But there's going to be a sense of you kind of coming out of the darkness and getting your head above water and understanding yourself in a different way, or understanding how maybe there's a sense of acceptance around things had to happen this way, because if it didn't happen this way, you wouldn't have gone here, met them, heard this, and unlocked this. So almost realizing that the universe set up breadcrumbs for you and offered you a path to either understanding or a path to breakthrough. There's transformation happening for you this week. There's a sense of either lessons learned or how everything ties together. And it's leading to an awakening that allows you to feel more hopeful and more positive because you have something realistic that you can go after. Not just a rumor or an illusion or something like that, but a sense like, oh my God, this is real. I can actually pursue this and it's going to help you make a breakthrough. So hoping for positive developments for you guys. Leo, sun and rising. The Cazimi happening this week is going to offer you a download. It's in your 8th house, and there's going to be some sort of awakening of not just the patterns that keep repeating in your life, but also a bit of a harsh realization of how you are part of those patterns, how you perpetuate them, how you potentially by avoiding some sort of truth or some sort of reality, things keep repeating. And then by you realizing a truth or, you know, being able to click with some part of reality, there's like, oh, actually. So it's all about what you put your energy into. It's all about you reap what you sow. And taking responsibility for the path that's opening up in front of you. And as much as you have to work with and compromise with other people, taking responsibility for more of who you are as far as energy, as far as communication, as far as goals, and as far as maybe if you avoid confrontation, how do you potentially perpetuate confrontation because you use subversive tactics? Or if you avoid speaking your truth and then you get mad that people don't understand your truth. So there's some sort of like avoidance technique that perpetuates a negative pattern. And by realizing that by not doing, you actually do. Does that even make sense? There's this Rush song, like, even if you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice. So there's a sense that like you thought you were avoiding something, but because you were avoiding it, you actually perpetuated it and made it happen or made it happen worse. I know it seems backwards, but when it clicks for you guys, it's going to click. And it's about realizing your place in the tango. And it's about recognizing that you have the ability to create your path, but it's going to require that you do uncomfortable things, like maybe call somebody out, or maybe actually talk about your feelings, or maybe actually have a difficult conversation when you really would rather not. If you're afraid of the outcome and you avoid it, the outcome happens anyway. But if you make a choice and interact and put your 2 cents in, then you have more control over the outcome. There's an opportunity for you to achieve balance by being more present in your relationships, by being less avoidant, by communicating, by being honest, by opening up your heart, by potentially being a little bit vulnerable. But it's about something about 2 to tango is what I keep hearing. There's tension, there's a sense of competition, there's a sense of friction with partners or people in your life. But yeah, the more you're willing to take responsibility and steer the boat, so to say, the situation will go in a different way instead of repeating the way that it has. Good luck. Virgo, Sun and Rising. This week's Cazimi involving Sun, Mercury, and Saturn is going to be a download when it comes to your relationships. And as a Virgo or a Virgo rising, you have that expert level ability to notice and kind of pick things apart. But if you stay in a place of picking apart the people in your life, you're not taking responsibility for your part in relationships. So the download for you is going to be about recognizing either your own true colors or somebody else's true colors or both, and then being faced with a choice, either accept it or change it. But no matter what, move on. When we get stuck talking about the same things or complaining about the same things, it's almost like we get this like endorphin rush from having the adrenaline of thinking about conflict. So there's this part where it's almost like you're addicted to something that keeps happening in your relationships. So again, either make peace with it or change it, but seriously, like move on. The breakthrough is going to be in your understanding. The breakthrough is going to be in how you see something and whether or not you're willing to look at it in a different way. Especially when we get stuck pointing the finger outwards, we forget that 3 are pointed in. So any standards that you hold other people to, make sure you hold them for yourself. The opportunity for action brought by Mars this week is going to be to practice what you preach and to put into practice any ways in which you realize maybe if you're being too critical, or maybe if you're being too stuck in your head or lost in thought or procrastination or whatever your negative spin is lately. There's an opportunity for you to put something into practice. Something I heard recently was, if something on your to-do list is going to take you less than 5 minutes, do it now. Take it off your to-do list. Because there's a sense that either you're getting like procrastination where you like clean your house instead of doing the work that you're supposed to do, or whatever it is, there's a pattern of avoidance. And if you're avoiding having a difficult conversation with a person, or if you're avoiding responsibilities and you keep spinning off in different directions, that's going to be the realization for you this week. And it's going to be about taking action. Less talk, less thinking, less putting it on your to-do list. Just do it now. Be present in the now, and make sure that you're being really, really mindful. Like, listen to yourself think for a week and take note of how often you get stuck into a critical mindset, and take note of how often you actually experience like calm. And then see if you can associate, okay, what was I doing when I was spinning and thinking about stupid things? And what was I doing when I experienced like zen and calm? And see if you can do that more. Just be mindful of what you've got going on in here. It's all about hard work. It's all about getting things done. And again, if it takes less than 5 minutes, just do it now, because otherwise you're going to have this sense of, oh my God, I've got so much stuff to do, which causes paralysis. Just do it. Libra, Sun and Rising. This week's Cazimi involving Saturn, Mercury, and the Sun is going to happen in your 6th house. So it's going to be a realization of the wisdom in your evolving path. Perhaps you've had to make some difficult choices in your work life or your day-to-day life, or maybe even with your health. There's a sense that you're really taking things seriously, but taking things seriously in a way that does not involve being hard on yourself. It's actually a way of taking things seriously that gives yourself some grace and some flexibility. And that extends to some new choices that you've been making about play, about creativity. Maybe you've taken on some sort of sport or extracurricular activity, or making a routine of going out with your friends and doing something silly every week. Maybe it's karaoke, maybe it's art, maybe it's charades. But there's a way in which you're becoming more easy on yourself. And as a result of you expecting less from yourself and giving yourself some more grace, it is becoming easier for you to give other people some grace. So there's a sense that things are really coming into balance for you. You're transforming and you're evolving, and you're starting to see that in yourself, which is really, really cool. So again, approaching things in a more lighthearted way, not taking things so seriously, but definitely take your need for relaxation time and refilling your cup. Take that seriously, but there's definitely a reduction in how much pressure you're putting on yourself to be productive, to be like in the hustle, you know what I mean? And it's almost like this counterintuitive thing where when you were pushing yourself really hard, you actually weren't very productive, and your off time was full of stress. Whereas when you're easier on yourself and you're having mandated playtime, you're actually more productive and you're actually more comfortable in your life. So really neat to see that playing out. And there's also a sense of like the proof's in the pudding. It might have felt uncomfortable for you at first to put so much energy into your off and relaxing and playtime. But the more that you do it, the more that it feels good, and then it becomes self-perpetuating. So, good stuff. Scorpio, Sun and Rising. The Cazimi happening this week with Saturn, the Sun, and Mercury is going to be in your 5th house. And quite possibly you're going to experience a breakthrough that involves something about your inner child. So either realizing that you've had a lifelong association with something, or realizing that maybe there's parts of your inner child that really needs to be nurtured or healed, or maybe you need more time to be silly. Within your personal relationships, there's going to be a breakthrough. And again, it keeps feeling like it has to do with your inner child. So either repeating patterns that you saw in the relationships in your family home, or as a child in the relationships of the adults in your life, there's going to be a sense that you're either perpetuating or repeating something. Or maybe what you're doing is maybe you realize that you have been recreating a role. So if as a child you were always ignored, then as an adult, you would always feel invisible. Or if as a child you had to take care of other people, maybe other siblings, or maybe you were taking care of parents, then as an adult, you find yourself in patterns of taking care of the other people in your life. So there's going to be something that's going to click this week where you see, wait a minute, I used to do this as a child, but I'm an adult now and I don't need to. Or maybe you'll realize, when I was a child, I didn't get this need met. And as an adult, I'm going to meet that need myself instead of expecting other people to meet it for me. So there's going to be some sort of interconnecting web between your inner child, between the adult relationships in your life, and whether or not balance exists in those, and whether or not your inner child themes and topics contribute to a sense of either balance or imbalance in your adult relationships. And then the opportunity for action is to kind of reconsider the energy that exists in your home right now. So whether or not you share that home with other people, you might be thinking about how, if you do share your home with other people, how you might be recreating some of those early relationships or roles. Or maybe if you don't have anybody in your house right now, you might be thinking about how you have unmet needs and kind of realizations around whether or not you need to meet those needs yourself, or like complex web. And it all has to do with your inner child and realizations of how you're an adult now. You might even be moving. You might even be experiencing a sense of busyness or conflict within your family home. But whatever it is that's happening within your home right now is going to bring you realizations of patterns that have existed throughout your life. Really interesting stuff to dive into. So if you have an opportunity to contemplate or meditate these things, or journal about these things, or go, see your counselor or something like that, this would be a really awesome opportunity for you to kind of see the bigger picture, see how everything connects together, and then maybe even make a decision about how you're going to adapt or change depending on what sort of patterns you really want to have in your life. So really cool stuff. Be brave. Sagittarius sun and rising, the Cazimi happening this week involving Saturn, Mercury, and the sun is going to happen in your 4th house. So there's going to be a realization about whether or not you feel at peace within your home. So that's going to potentially bring up themes of whether or not you're wearing rose-colored glasses. Maybe you're living in your memories and ignoring the reality that exists right now. Maybe there is a sense that you feel like you're with your soulmate, or maybe there's a sense that you are projecting an expectation of someone being your soulmate when in fact they are very much so not. The theme this week is going to really bring a highlight to your sense of emotional safety, your sense of having a sanctuary away from the world, so wherever you call home base, and then whether or not that home base or your emotional stability, whether or not that feels in line with your highest path. So it might be a beautiful realization that you have everything that you really wanted, or it might be kind of like a harsh realization where you're like, wow, I've been really kind of glossing over the details, and the fact of the matter is this is toxic or unhealthy, or I've been avoiding the reality. So whichever side of the coin you find yourself on, there's an opportunity for you to make a breakthrough when it comes to how you live your life on a day-to-day basis, how you practice either being realistic, or maybe it's a realization of, on a day-to-day basis, you just kind of go, la la la, it's fine, whatever. There comes a point, even for the best of us, even for people who are super, super chill, there will always be a point where something becomes enough. And that point might come for you this week if you've been avoiding the truth. If you haven't been avoiding the truth, this is going to be a beautiful week of feeling like you are just in the right place at the right time, you're zen and you're stoked. So again, it could be either side of the coin. The action and the opportunity is going to be through conversation and hanging out with your friends, or maybe even family members. Mars in your 3rd house is an opportunity for you to either reach out and engage with the people around you because you're feeling inspired and you're in a good place, or if you're on the other side of the coin, you're going to have an opportunity to maybe talk about how you feel and get some honest reflections. Like for example, if you're in a relationship that's really not healthy and you talk to a friend and you're like, man, I'm having some kind of hard realizations, you might have the experience of a friend being like, dude, I have wanted to talk to you about this for like ever. So some sort of truth-seeking mission. If you want to know the truth this week, it will be available to you. But you have to be brave enough to actually see it and listen to it and accept it. So if you want some feedback, it will be out there. It's also an opportunity for you to use your words as a point of self-promotion. If you are self-employed, if you want to self-promote, this week is going to be an amazing opportunity for you to really kind of tap into your network and either get seen or get discovered or make those connections that you've been really wanting to make. So there's a sense of like reality is waiting for you if you want to see it. An opportunity is also waiting for you if you're willing to be brave and reach for it. So good luck this week. Capricorn, Sun and Rising. The Cazimi happening this week is happening in your third house of talking and listening and networking. There may be a sense that, because the Piscean energy can either be really dreamy and inspired, or it can be totally checked out of reality. And there's a sense that if you want it, you could have a really eye-opening conversation. If you wanted to, you could reach out and make connections that are going to help you walk your highest path. There's some sort of opportunity for you to have a download this week, and it's going to be something that you hear or some part of conversation that's going to happen. And it feels like a closed circle, like within trusted company. There's a sense that you've been like going, it's fine, and hitting your limit. And it feels like the opportunity for you is an opportunity to get validation from someone, in the sense of like, you really need to hear from someone, it's okay. You don't have to try so hard, or it's okay. I would be stressed out if I was dealing with that too. Or it's okay if this feels too much for you. So there's some sort of like, you're usually just rock solid and like poker face, it's fine. You don't often talk about how you really feel with people, but there's an opportunity this week for you to bare your soul and talk about how you really feel. And it's either going to bring you a download of advice or validation, or maybe it's going to be the kind of thing where you've been avoiding the truth, and as soon as it comes out of your mouth, you're going to be like, damn, that is how I feel. I've been avoiding this, but this is really, really, really how I feel. So don't be afraid to talk to trusted company, because some sort of truth is going to come out. Some sort of, maybe a bombshell realization, or maybe just a little clue to how you can be happier. But what you're hoping to take advantage of this week is an opportunity to be happier. Maybe there's not enough joy in your life. Maybe things have just been really hard for so long that that's what you need to talk about. You need to be able to say that to someone, like, I'm really struggling. And maybe you'll get invited to go do silly karaoke or something like that. But there's help for you. There's fun available for you, but these things won't become available if you don't make it clear that you want them or need them. So it's about speaking your desires and your truth, and then allowing those things to come into your life. The action that you can take is like putting your money where your mouth is. Like, for example, you're so good at, maybe giving other people advice, or maybe just being the rock for other people, that now the roles are switched. And people want to be able to offer you the same thing. Maybe there's going to be an opportunity for you to spoil yourself or treat yourself when usually you'd be really, penny pinching with your funds. There's also a sense that you need to detach your value as a human being from the money that you make or from how sordid you seem. So for you to be experiencing doubt, for you to be experiencing turbulent emotions, those things don't make you a flawed person. They make you a human being. So kind of letting yourself be less sorted. I don't even know how else to put it, but at the same time aligning with your values, like realizing that what you really value is someone who is healthy and someone who knows themselves. So if those things are things that you value, then you need to also acknowledge that rest helps you be healthy. And acknowledging difficult feelings is an expression of you knowing yourself. So there's something about realizing that maybe you haven't been living your ideals and then making some adjustments to let yourself live those ideals. Definitely you need to play more, and definitely you need to feel like you are appreciated. So if you're not feeling appreciated, being able to say to someone, hey, I don't feel appreciated, might get you that support of somebody being like, dude, let me tell you how much I love you, or whatever the case may be. But definitely don't self-isolate during any emotional experiences this week. The opportunity for you is going to exist in conversation and connection. So let that happen. Aquarius, sun and rising. The Cazimi happening this week involving Saturn, Mercury, and the sun is going to happen in your second house of values. And you might have a reality check of realizing that your life is not reflecting the values that you embody. Maybe it's because you're glossing over something. Maybe it's because you're disassociating instead of being present. Maybe there's a sense that it's just this reality check where you're like, oh yeah, right. Maybe I'm not doing enough, or maybe I'm doing too much. The opportunity for you to really see your values for what they are and make any necessary adjustments is going to go hand in hand with being grounded and feeling peaceful and feeling safe. So a lot of it has to do with your home base, for example. If you're dealing with a lot of stress in your home environment, and then you're like, well, how come I'm not productive? How come I'm not happy? How come I'm not spiritually in tune? Well, it's because the place that's supposed to be your sanctuary is not a sanctuary, which means that your base of your Maslow's hierarchy of needs, if your home is not a sanctuary, you're not going to extend your awareness into any other beautiful parts of your life because you didn't get that cornerstone sorted out. So when you want to aim for your values, you also need to be realistic about what you have right now as far as resources. And that could be financial resources, or it could be energetic or emotional resources. If you are holding yourself to really high standards, but not acknowledging how there's no gas in your gas tank, that's not fair to you. And also conversely, if your home base, maybe there's situations in your home base where you're like, okay, this is not meeting my ideals. Well, is it possible to, given the ingredients or given the circumstances? So there's some sort of like opportunity for you to make peace with who you are or who the people around you are. But also at the same time, you're going to have this energy with Mars in your first house of like, you need to speak your truth. Nobody is going to trip over themselves to meet your needs. So you have to meet your own needs. And if you need something from other people, you have to tell them. You can't just expect it. With Pisces being the predominant energy right now, we may all experience a situation where you're like, well, that person should just know. Or how do they not see it? Some people are just checked out. Some people are just so lost in their own reality that they don't notice, that they don't see, that they don't guess, or whatever the case may be. So for everything that you're thinking, how come, maybe kind of explore why, and maybe kind of think about whether or not your expectations are realistic. There has to be a actualization behind ideas. There has to be verbalization behind desires. And if we don't actualize, if we don't take action, or if we don't verbalize, then we can't be disappointed that those things did not happen. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Look after you. Nobody else is looking after you. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, of course, people care about you, but nobody's going to be like dedicated to looking after you. That's your job. So make sure that you're meeting your needs. Make sure you don't feel the least bit guilty or selfish about it. And then after you've met your bottom needs of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, then think about higher goals. But you might just need more rest. You might just need more alone time, and you might need more stress relieving activities. You can't be all love and light all the time. I feel like there's a little bit of anger or frustration or even rage inside of you, and that needs a healthy opportunity to come out. But yeah, there's an energy of you needing to kind of have a lot of breathing room right now. A little bit of independence would really serve you good. Good luck. And Pisces, sun and rising. The Cazimi happening for you guys is in your first house. So there's some sort of self-reflection opportunity happening this week that might offer you kind of two sides of a coin. Seeing the best in yourself, but also seeing ways in which you are your own worst enemy or the source of your own undoing. Mars is in your 12th house right now, which represents that there's a sense of you not seeing clearly how your actions influence your reality. So the big thing this week for you guys is going to be asking yourself, how are you blind to your own motivations? Or how are you acting from a subconscious or a reactive way or a habitual way in which maybe a dose of self-awareness would actually change everything? There's a need for introspection. There's a need for reflection. There's a need for kind of contemplating maybe interactions or situations and then being brutally honest with yourself, not just about how other people contributed, but how you contributed. And not glossing over any of the details, not glossing over any of the ways in which your tone might have not been the greatest, or any kind of victim stance that you might find yourself in. It's going to be really important to reflect on whether or not we are assigning titles to something that's more incidental than intentional. We may see ourselves as a victim of life or a victim of circumstance or a victim of other people's behavior. But sometimes what we're doing is assigning far more responsibility to the outer world than necessary. Sometimes shit just happens, right? If we say, oh, this is part of a bigger picture, a bigger pattern, it's important to actually have the evidence to say so, because we might be, with this energy right now, there might be a sense of self-delusion. And when the ego really doesn't want to acknowledge how the ego has potentially acted out of line, then the ego will be like, oh no, it wasn't me, or I only did that because I was mad, or anybody else would have done that. So if you find yourself having any kind of internal dialogue or external dialogue where you're glossing something over, that is your invitation to go, wait a minute, how can I take more responsibility for this? Or how can I maybe, because it could be alternatively, it could be that you're glossing over somebody else's behavior and be like, oh, they didn't mean it. Oh, they're just like that. Really though? A lot of people know exactly what they're doing. So whatever aspect of your life that you might be glossing over, the highlight or the important part for you is to be really, really introspective about your actions. Every action demonstrates a need. So if your actions are subversive or sideways, potentially manipulative or avoidant, come back to what that need is and then ask yourself, how can I directly meet that need? Or how can I verbalize this need so that I can receive the help and the support or the connection that I really need? So no more fishy swimming. Just go straight to the point, and that's how you're going to find the solution or the answers or the breakthrough. All right, that's all I've got for you guys. Thanks so much for being here. Tune in next week for your week's in-depth astrology. And every day I post little mini horoscopes and tarot readings first thing in the morning. So make sure to like and subscribe so you get to see those too. Mwah! Thanks for being here. I'll see you next time.